one thing I talk about is what is happiness?
Mm,
And the definition that I came up with is happiness is knowing that you're showing up and becoming the best version of yourself. And the reason why I love that as a definition is it grows with you.
mm,
It's not an end point somewhere in the future. It's something that you can feel right now. You can go up in every single day and be like, what do I need today do today to be the best version of me? You can reflect at the end, being like, did I handle this as the person I want to be? And then it's never about dwelling on the past because you're not going to get it perfect, but it's about learning from it and be like, okay, if I had an off day or an off week or an off month, what do I need to do to start turning this around? How do I need to start showing up better? Because a lot of that, we can take that pressure off ourselves. We can be like, do you know what? I did my best today. I put in the work. I took action. I moved myself forward and I can be at peace with that.
mm.
Yes, I've still got a long way to go, but I'm making progress.
Is there any part of that that feels like a burden? Because I think it can, when you define happiness that way, which I don't think I disagree with. I think I actually agree with that. There's like stress, there's effort, there's a burden, it's not, often when people think of the word happiness, there's like this light feeling of like just joy, and maybe it's sitting on a beach for somebody, or it's whatever it is, dinner with friends, laughing. But the version of happiness you're explaining is one that is not that. It's much more active. It's much more, there's a lot more energy involved. It's kind of trying to improve yourself, trying to work. It doesn't give that same light feeling. It's a heavier feeling. It's a tenser feeling. I'm not saying it's wrong, but is
Yeah.
that right? That assessment, and is that okay?
Um, in my opinion, yes, because there's only so long that you can be happy and relaxed and chilled. Because so many people are like, oh, I just want to relax and just put my feet up and do nothing. But if you don't feel like you're growing, that's when you start to feel like you're dying. It feels like you're just going through the motions. Every day's the same. This is where a lot of people just get mentally weighed down. Like they get frustrated. They don't feel like they're moving forward. So that's why I like this as a definition, because it's you are growing and moving forward.
Mm,
Because I'm sure you've had periods of your life. I know I have where I've just felt stuck. I was like, nothing's working. I'm not growing. Like I had lots of things to be grateful for. I could have just been relaxed, but I didn't feel happy. So yes, and it's the same as you go on holiday. Like you're really relaxed for a few days, but then after a while, you're like,
mm,
I need to do something. So that's why I would like
yeah.
stand by my point of like you need to have that growth, because if you don't feel like you're progressing, that's when you just plateau. And there's only so long you can feel that way until it actually starts having a negative impact.
Do you ever worry, and hopefully you understand, I ask these questions because I think it's super interesting. So this is kind of how we probe and understand, philosophically thinking about it. Do you ever worry that drive to grow and that fear of plateauing is more societal, right? Like the world we live in today, which is very much go, 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 achieve, capitalistic, more and more, that sense of like this is wrong is actually just those societal pressures. Do you ever worry that and that it's pushing you towards it?
There's definitely an element of that. And this is why I go back to my thing. If you've got to figure out what's true to you, because it's really bad. Because growing doesn't necessarily have to mean earning more money and advancing in your career. Like growing could be being a better partner, being
Mm,
a better parent. It could be improving your health. Like it doesn't have to be through the metric of I'm growing, earning more money and putting in my bank account. Like it really comes down to an individual level. What is it that you want? And living a life that's true to you.
mm,
Because growth for me is going to be different to you, but it's when we start getting to the societal things, if this is what's expected to me of me, this is what I should be doing, that's when the negative connotations come in. So I
mm,
think it's a great question that you asked, and I think that's why I would really push the point home. If people listening to us need to figure out like what is true to them
mm,
and what does that look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's right. It goes back to how you defined success before. It's somewhat individual for each person. Let me ask you this. So philosophical, right? We'll go there a little bit. The reason to want to grow. Well, let me give you my part of my theory on why I think that's so important, but I'm curious yours. If you kind of go a few levels deeper, follow the thread as to why do we need to grow, right? There's a view where maybe it's biological, right? Maybe it's just human nature that, as you said, right, if we plateau, we start to feel like we're dying. So it's just a very self-serving biological function which says for us to be at our optimal as a species, as an animal, we need to do that. You can go a different direction, which is maybe one I go more towards, which is like it's about other people. It's about making sure that you're doing good in the world, because I think it's very easy for us as animals to just rely on our base instincts, to just kind of go towards something that's more convenient, that's easier, that at times causes suffering for other people. And our best defense against that is to be constantly looking at ourselves and seeing, am I being the best version of myself? Can I be better? It's almost a responsibility we have to others. Other people might look at it and say it's spiritual. It's God. That's why, because I want to get into heaven. That's why I need to grow. That's why I need to be better. If you had to get to kind of like a first principles level, why do you think growth is so important to us as humans? Is it any one of those three? Is it something different?
Yeah. Again, I think it's going to be individual.
Hmm.
For some people, it might be spiritual. For some people, it might be legacy, wanting to make an impact, leave the world a better place. This goes back to that whole point of defining success, because I find a lot of the time people get unfulfilled because they're just focusing on themselves. Whereas the people who are really feeling enriched in life, they're doing something bigger than them. They're doing something that is helping other people, that is actually having an impact. It's making the world a better place. And this is why when I go back to my own example of where I really turned my whole feelings of success around, it's when I was really focused on, okay, how do I make an impact to make the world better?
Why was
That
that
for me is
important
what
to you,
drives
Byron?
me.
Sorry to jump in on that, but just to press on that, like, why was that important to you to make a difference in the world? Right? There's some obvious answers
Yeah.
to that, but what's
Yeah,
what's at the root of that?
because it's just going for me going to bed at night and being like, "Do you know what, the time that I spent today actually helped other people. I did something that wasn't just focusing on money." And I think that was where it goes back to understanding the journey you're on. Because initially, when I was growing a business, I had to focus on the finances. I was like, I need to get to a point of revenue wise where we can be stable. So again, it goes to that periods and understanding the stage that you're at. Because someone listening to this right now, they may want to create an impact and change the world, but they might need to focus on growing something sustainable first.
Mm.
And that's okay. So rather than pressuring themselves like straight away, I need to go with all of this positive impact, and maybe a few years of just being like, we really need to grow something here, and being at peace with that. Because that's what I had to do.
Mm.
Like with me going straight in at the beginning, like I had all the good intentions of wanting to change and make the world a better place. And because I was so stressed about money and making that happen, it just made me miserable. So it was when I really had to start balancing that. And goes back to what I said of just understanding what's actually driving you and where you're at this point in your life.